बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्लज़ीना आमनु व हाजरू व जाहदू फी सबीलिल्लाहि बिअमवालिहिम व अनफुसिहिम अअज़मु दरजतन इंदल्लाह व उलाइका हुमुल फाइज़ून. Those who have believed, emigrated, and strived in the cause of Allah with their wealth and their lives are greater in rank in the sight of Allah. It is they who will triumph. अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं हूं वजाहत सईद खान. पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ बहुत सारे महाज खुले, कुछ हमने खुद खोले और काफी सारे हमारे खिलाफ खोले गए. आज का महाज साइफर के नाम. 1.5 साल से ज्यादा हो गया है कि पाकिस्तान के रियासती इदारे जो हैं इमरान खान के खिलाफ साइफर खेल रहे हैं. 2 बार इमरान खान पे और शाह महमूद कुरैशी पे फर्द जुर्म आयद हुआ है साइफर केस के बारे में. मगर कल ही में इंटरसेप्ट अमरीकी जरीदा जो वाशिंगटन में बेस्ड है ने साइफर का केस क्लोज कर दिया है. ये इस तवक्कुआत से आज मैं आपके सामने ये शो लाया हूं कि फाइनली एक बार क्लियर हो जाए कि साइफर शुरू कैसे हुआ था और अब इस केस को खत्म कैसे होना चाहिए. साइफर की जो कहानी है वो शुरू होती है 7 मार्च 2022 को. 7 मार्च 2022 को मीटिंग होती है डोनाल्ड लू जो यूएस के असिस्टेंट सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर साउथ एशियन अफेयर्स हैं, उनकी पाकिस्तान के साबिक एम्बेसडर असद मजीद खान के साथ वाशिंगटन की एम्बेसी में ये मीटिंग होती है. मीटिंग के बाद मिनट्स जो हैं वो कन्वर्ट होते हैं साइफर में. साइफर खुद एम्बेसडर अकॉर्डिंग टू प्रोटोकॉल लिखता है और फिर एम्बेसडर ये साइफर जो है ये भेजता है फॉरेन ऑफिस को. फॉरेन ऑफिस ये साइफर प्राइम मिनिस्टर इमरान खान को भेजता है. प्राइम मिनिस्टर इमरान खान इस साइफर को बहैसियत एक थ्रेट देखता है. वो फिर एक नेशनल सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल की एक मीटिंग बुलाता है. वो जो मीटिंग है उसमें ये साइफर सबके सामने डिस्कस होता है, जिसमें जो आला फौजी क़यादत है और जो बाकी जो सीनियर लीडरशिप है वो सब अग्री करते हैं कि एक डिमार्श इशू हो और अमरीकी एम्बेसडर को बुलाया जाए. उस वक्त जो चार्ज दी अफेयर्स हैं उनको बुलाया जाता है, पूछा जाता है कि ये क्या धमकी है, ये क्या है, ये क्यों लिखवाया है तुम लोगों ने. साथ साथ ये तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर सेक्रेटेरिएट की दीवारों के पीछे उन बंद कमरों में होता है जिधर हमारे जो लीडर्स हैं, जिधर से हम पे राज करते हैं. मगर बाहर पार्लियामान में, सड़कों पे जो पाकिस्तान की जो हरीफ जमातें हैं, इमरान खान की जो हरीफ जमातें हैं, वो एक अगले ही दिन, इसी मीटिंग के अगले ही दिन वो एक नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन टेबल करती हैं और इस मोशन के पीछे इमरान खान फौज का हाथ और अमेरिका का हाथ देखता है. अल्टीमेटली ये अप्रैल तक की मामला चलता है जब इमरान खान का तख्ता है उसको पलट दिया जाता है, उलट दिया जाता है इस साइफर रेजीम चेंज से. वो दिन है, आज का दिन है कि पाकिस्तान की तारीख में ये जो केस है, ये जो अजीब गरीब केस है, ये हर बच्चे की जुबान पे, हर बड़े की जुबान पे ये केस चढ़ा है. मगर अब अमरीकी जरीदे इंटरसेप्ट ने ये केस क्लोज कर दिया है. आज हमारे पास आपके लिए डिटेल्स हैं, खास डिटेल्स हैं कि अमरीकी जरीदे ने ये केस क्लोज कैसे किया है. याद दिलाता चलूं कि ये वही जरीदा है जिसने इस अगस्त, ये जो पिछला अगस्त 2023 का गुजरा है, उसमें पहली बार ये साइफर एक्चुअली पब्लिश कर दिया और उस साइफर के पब्लिश होने के बाद ही इमरान खान पे ये जो है केस साइफर वाला, ये फर्द जुर्म जो है ये आयद हुआ था. तो ये बड़ा जरूरी होगा इस चीज को नोट करना कि इस जरीदे के पब्लिकेशन के बाद इमरान खान का साइफर केस पे फर्द जुर्म आयद हुआ है. अलग अलग कंस्पिरेसीज छपी कि किसने ये साइफर एक अमरीकी अखबार को लीक किया है, उस पे हम आते हैं. मगर उसी जिस दिन ये साइफर पब्लिश हुआ अगस्त 8, 2023 को, तो उसी दिन फॉरेन ऑफिस ने, जो हमारा दफ्तर खारजा है, फॉरेन ऑफिस ने ISI वालों को लिखा कि भाई ये अब पब्लिश हो गया है, अब इस पे किया क्या जाए. 2 दिन बाद ISI ने जवाब दिया और कहा कि फिक्र नहीं करो, कुछ नहीं मसला, कोई चीज कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं हुई, बिल्कुल टेक्निकली साइफर जो है वो सिक्योर है, कोई कौमी सलामती को मसला नहीं है, कोई इनक्रिप्टेड कम्युनिकेशन जो है वो कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं हुई. अब ये जो ISI का जो जवाबी जो लेटर था दफ्तर खारजा को, ये आज हमारी कहानी है. यही इंटरसेप्ट والوں کی کہانی ہے. اب یہ جو لیٹر بازی ہوئی ہے دفتر خارجہ اور ISI کے درمیان، یہ کیوں ہوئی؟ یہ ISI میں کس نے یہ کیا؟ ISI کی جو یہ لیٹر بازی ہے، یہ ان کا جو سیکریٹریٹ ہے جو پالیسی میٹرز ڈسکس کرتا ہے، اسیس کرتا ہے، اینالائز کرتا ہے، یہ انہوں نے لکھا. اس لیٹر کا عنوان تھا بریچ آف کرپٹو سیکیورٹی. یہ لیٹر 11 اگست کو لکھا گیا ISI سے فورن آفس کو. اس میں کلیئرلی بار بار لکھا گیا کہ انکرپشن ڈی کوڈ ہو سکتی ہے، مگر اس کے لیے جو کیپیسٹی چاہیے، جو حریف ہے، جو ملک دشمن ہے، جو بھی ہے، جس کو وہ کیپیسٹی چاہیے، اس کی جو کیپیسٹی ہے وہ پوری دنیا کے ڈیٹا سٹوریج سے زیادہ اس کی کیپیسٹی ہو. ایک تو یہ چیز چاہیے. دوسرا، جو عمران خان کا جو ایک پیج کا جو سائفر تھا، وہ ایک پیج سے زیادہ ٹیکسٹ چاہیے. اتنا ٹیکسٹ چاہیے کہ پوری دنیا کا جو ڈیٹا، اگر آپ ڈیٹا سٹوریج کمبائن کریں، اتنا اگر کوئی ٹیکسٹ ہو، ایک پیج نہیں مگر پوری دنیا کے ڈیٹا سے زیادہ ٹیکسٹ ہو، تو پھر سائفر اور انکرپشن کی کے ساتھ ساتھ پلین ٹیکسٹ جو ہے، جو عمران خان نے تو پلین ٹیکسٹ جو ہے وہ ہلایا تھا، اس سے شاید پھر پاکستان کا جو کرپٹوگراف ہے وہ بریچ ہو جائے اور پاکستان کی جو قومی سلامتی ہے وہ کمپرومائز ہو جائے. آج کافی واضح ہو گیا ہے کہ یہ اگر انفارمیشن ISI کے پاس تھی تو یہ انفارمیشن ہم اسوم کر سکتے ہیں کہ پروسیکیوٹرز جو عمران خان کا پچھلے مہینوں سے کیس کر رہے ہیں، اس کو اندر کرنے کی کوشش کر رہے ہیں، ان کے پاس بھی تھی. اور اگر ہمیں بتایا جائے، ہم اسوم کریں کہ وہ جو وکلا ہیں ان کے پاس یہ ڈیٹا نہیں ہے، تو آج ان کے پاس اس سٹوری سے یہ ڈیٹا آ گیا ہے کہ ایکچولی پروف ہے اب کہ پاکستان کی قومی سلامتی کو عمران خان نے کسی طریقے سے کمپرومائز نہیں کیا. یہ لب لباب ہے انٹرسیپٹ کی سٹوری کا. آج ہم سٹارٹ کریں گے، آپ کو لے کے چلیں گے، اس سٹوری کے رپورٹرز سے ملاقات کروائیں گے. پہلے ہم بات کریں گے کہ آفیشل کرائم کیا تھا جو الیج کیا گیا، وہ کیا تھا گناہ جو عمران خان کے اوپر لگایا گیا. پھر ہم بات کریں گے کہ فورن آفس نے کیا لکھا. پھر ہم بات کریں گے کہ ISI نے کیا جواب دیا فورن آفس کو. پھر ہم بات کریں گے ان دونوں رپورٹر سے کہ جو ڈاکیومنٹ ہے وہ کس نے ان کو دیا. یہ بڑا ضروری ہے. یاد رہے کہ انٹرسیپٹ نے جب سائفر اگست میں شائع کیا تھا تو اگست میں بہت لوگوں نے کنسپیریسیز نکالی تھیں کہ عمران خان نے خود دے دیا ہے انٹرسیپٹ والوں کو سائفر. انٹرسیپٹ نے کلیئرلی لکھا تھا اپنی کہانی میں کہ ہمیں ایک فوجی سورس نے دیا ہے. اب انٹرسیپٹ نے اس بار کس سے لیا ہے، یہ بہت اہم مدعا بنتا ہے. ہم نے انٹرسیپٹ سے آج یہ بھی پوچھا ہے، کیونکہ اگر ہم اسوم کریں کہ انٹرسیپٹ، obviously ہمیں اسوم کرنا پڑے گا کیونکہ وہ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ خان نے ہمیں سائفر نہیں دیا، تو اس کے کیا مطلب ہے؟ اس کا مطلب ایک تو یہ ہے کہ یا تو ISI نے خود دیا ہے انٹرسیپٹ کو، نمبر 1، اور پھر دے کے فرد جرم عائد کر دیا ہے، تو یہ ہو سکتا ہے. یا کوئی اور ایجنسی، پاکستان میں 15-20 انٹیلیجنس ایجنسیز ہیں، ملٹری انٹیلیجنس ہے، انٹیلیجنس بیورو ہے، الگ الگ رینجرز کی فیلڈ انٹیلیجنس ہے، الگ الگ انٹیلیجنس ایجنسیز ہیں. اسپیشل برانچ کے پاس بھی انٹیلیجنس پروویژنز ہوتی ہیں. تو یا تو کسی اور انٹیلیجنس ایجنسی نے دیا ہے اگر ISI نے نہیں دیا، یا ISI کے اندر لیک ہے، یا ISI کے اندر باغی کوئی افسر ہے یا افسر ہیں جنہوں نے یہ کیا ہے، یا کسی بین الاقوامی فوجی سورس نے، ملٹری سورس نے جو پاکستان کا حریف ہے، اس نے پاکستان کی یہ کہ کاغذات کی کمیونیکیشن انٹرسیپٹ کر کے پھر انٹرسیپٹ کو دے دی ہے. اب یہ جو سوال ہیں، یہ اہم سوال ہیں. یہ ہم نے سوال پوچھے رائن گریم اور مرتضی حسین سے، آج ہی میں پوچھے. اور آپ کے لیے ہم پہلے یوٹیوب چینل ہیں جو یہ کانورسیشن لائے ہیں. بڑی ڈیپ انہوں نے رپورٹنگ کی ہے، بہت اہم رپورٹنگ کی ہے، بہت امپورٹنٹ ایشو پہ کی ہے، اور ڈیمانڈ اب یہ کر رہے ہیں کہ ہماری جو رپورٹنگ ہے اس کو پروسیکیوٹرز صحیح طریقے سے یوز کریں تاکہ پاکستان میں جو انصاف ہے وہ پریویل کر سکے. تو اب چلتے ہیں اس انٹرویو کی طرف. چھوٹا سا انٹرویو ہے، زیادہ لمبا نہیں ہے، مگر اس میں جس طریقے سے انہوں نے رپورٹنگ کی ہے उससे आप खुद ही समझ जाएंगे कि साइफर का जो केस है वो ओपन एंड शट है. ज्यादा खौफनाक ये कोई लंबा चौड़ा इसे आप करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जिस तरीके से इसको कभी ओपन कर देते हैं, कभी पब्लिक ट्रायल कर देते हैं, कभी मीडिया को लाते हैं, कभी डरबे बना देते हैं, कभी शीशे लगा देते हैं. ये जो पिछले दिनों से जो टोपी ड्रामा चल रहा है, इसको अब खत्म करने का वक्त क्लियरली आ गया है. और वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली ये जो स्टोरी है ये ऐसे वक्त पे शाया हुई है जिस वक्त पे आसिम मुनीर ऑलरेडी वॉशिंगटन में हैं. और यही जो रिपोर्टर हैं रायन ग्रिम साहब, इन्होंने ही आज ही में स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट से ये पूछा आसिम मुनीर के बारे में कि वो एग्जैक्टली वॉशिंगटन में क्या कर रहे हैं, किससे मिले, किससे नहीं मिले, और उनके बारे में, उनकी मीटिंग के बारे में ये क्यों नहीं स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट ने बताया कि हम उनसे क्यों मिले, क्यों नहीं मिले. एक तो ये पूछा, और दूसरा जो पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ का जो वर्चुअल जलसा, जो अजीब सी बात है कि पता नहीं किसने बंद किया, इंटरनेट किसके हाथ में है. तो जिसने भी बंद किया वो इंटरनेट, वो रायन ग्रिम ने, इसी रिपोर्टर ने जिससे अभी हमने बात की है, आज उन्होंने ये भी पूछा स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट से ऑफिशियली, और ये आप वीडियो में देख सकते हैं कि क्या ये फ्री और फेयर इलेक्शंस की कार्रवाई का हिस्सा है या नहीं. एक तरफ स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट कहता है कि पाकिस्तान को फ्री और फेयर इलेक्शंस करवाने चाहिए, करवाने की जरूरत है. दूसरी तरफ स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट चुप क्यों है, अमरीकी चुप क्यों है, जब दुनिया के 5वें बड़े मुल्क में, उस मुल्क की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी जब एक ऑनलाइन जलसा करती है तो इंटरनेट बंद हो जाता है. क्या ये फ्री और फेयर इलेक्शन की ब्रीच नहीं? ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्वर्सेशन है. ये भी चला रहे हैं हम आज के महाज में. पहले स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट में क्या हुआ वो मुलाहिजा कीजिए, और फिर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली इन दोनों का इंटरव्यू जो है वो देखिए, एंजॉय करें, शेयर करें, लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें, कमेंट करें. आपकी मदद से मैं तकरीबन 3,10,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स पे आ गया हूं. गोल है मेरा कि इस महीने से पहले के साल खत्म हो मैं 3,25,000 तक जाऊं. उम्मीद है 10-11 दिन रह गए हैं. उम्मीद है कि आप मेरी मदद करेंगे. टेक मी टू 325,000. आज 19 दिसंबर है. देखते हैं कि 11 दिन में आप सपोर्ट करके, इंडिपेंडेंट जर्नलिज्म को सपोर्ट करके, और एक इंडिपेंडेंट थिंकिंग को सपोर्ट करके, और इंडिपेंडेंस को सपोर्ट करके आप अपनी आवाज को, मतलब मुझे, आगे ले जा सकते हैं कि नहीं. सो एंजॉय द शो एंड आई विल सी यू सून.
And on Pakistan, I want to read you a Voice of America headline. They headlined the story, Pakistan restricts internet access amid rare opposition online rally. That's a recent article. There was a virtual rally held by the opposition party because the opposition party leader is in jail. And I'm wondering if the throttling of the internet amid an online rally makes a mockery of the many times you've encouraged Pakistan to hold free and fair upcoming elections. Are they free and fair if even a virtual rally with the opposition leader in prison is being throttled nationally online?
So I cannot speak to the specific report you're referring to because I'm not familiar with those underlying details, but we have always made clear that we think access to the internet is an important component in a free society, and we'll continue to make that clear as a general proposition for Pakistan and every other country in the world.
Well, Asif Munir was just here, the Army chief. Was that raised with him? I didn't see any public comments made by State Department. And why was he meeting with civilians rather than only military?
So I'm not going to get into private diplomatic conversations, but I will say we engage a number of times with military leaders from other countries, just as military leaders from the United States engage with civilian officials for other countries. It's not in any way unusual. Go ahead.
Okay, now after that pivotal story, we have to head to the reporters, and I am joined once again by what I'm beginning to call the interceptors, Ryan Grimm and Murtaza Hussain of the Intercept, the two gentlemen who reported the story. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Good to be here.
Now, Ryan, you're in Washington. Murtaza, you're in Canada. Thanks for taking the time during the holidays to report this. I'm going to keep this simple. Run me through it, Ryan. The alleged crime, and I'm going to read right from your report, is that the complaint alleges that Khan compromised the entire cipher security system of the state and the secret communication method of Pakistani missions abroad. That is the alleged crime. What's your finding?
So, setting aside the question of whether or not Imran Khan leaked the cipher to the Intercept, which he did not, and which we have said multiple times that he did not, taking the charge at face value, if you read the charging documents, the center of the case, the thrust of the case, is that leaking a cipher, leaking the plain text of the cipher, would then allow an adversarial intelligence agency to compare that with the encrypted version of the cipher and sort of do a Rosetta Stone type of analysis that then cracks the entire cipher system and then makes vulnerable all of Pakistan's kind of internal secret communications. Like that's not just the charge that's at play here in the case against Khan. That's also the reason that his government was repeatedly given for why they couldn't release it publicly at the time. The document that we have obtained is an ISI analysis that says that there's no question that this is untrue, that plain text of a cipher does not compromise the system. And they go into the technical reasons why. We don't necessarily need to go into those, but the ISI says that this is just simply not the case, that the system is secure, it is not compromised, which is contrary to the charging sheet.
Right, quite contrary to the charging sheet. Murtaza, break it down for us. Now, in August, you guys reported on the actual cipher itself. You guys blew open the case and put the cipher out in the open. What happened after that? Because this development, this back and forth between the Foreign Office, which actually is the owner of the cipher, right? It published the cipher, it has the cipher, its ambassador wrote the cipher. The Foreign Office wrote to the ISI. Break that down for us. And then the ISI responded. Give me the blow by blow on what happened after your story was published.
Sure. So in the immediate aftermath of the story, there's obviously a lot of commotion inside Pakistan. There wasn't a clear response from the government immediately about the veracity or not of the story. But behind the scenes, they seemed quite sure of what had happened and very concerned. The cipher text, one of their classified documents, had been published by the Intercept. And about 2 days thereafter, there was this communication which was initiated between ISI and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and perhaps even other areas of the government as well, too, discussing the implications of the text of this document being out there. Now, Ryan sort of alluded to this, but theoretically in cryptography, there is an idea that if the text of an encrypted document is released, that could be used by somebody who had the encrypted version as well, too, to decipher the entire cipher system. And they want to come to the question of whether this was true or not. So for some period thereafter, almost immediately thereafter, when the story published, they were discussing and evaluating this question and trying to determine if this story made them susceptible to what's called a plain text attack. And if you remember, in the actual text of the article we published the whole cipher at the bottom of the article as well, too. So the entire plain text was there. But what they found and what these communications show is that there was not any threat of a plain text attack against Pakistan systems, because the amount of text you need to actually put out there to implement such an attack in cryptography would be trillions and trillions more words than the cipher would contain. So it's simply not possible for this to be the case. And what's interesting is how categorically they confirmed that the threat was not in existence very, very long time ago, all way back as August of this year. So now today, Imran Khan is still charged with allegedly, compromising Pakistan's national security and its encryption system by allegedly, and he's not actually the source, but being someone who mishandled the cipher document. But it's simply not true according to the ISI's own determinations of the implications of a leak. So it says the question, there's no indication publicly that they've disclosed this exonerating information to Khan's lawyers. He's still on charge for the same charges. The charge sheet was renewed this week or last week. And yet, in their own documentation, they know very, very specifically that this allegation is not just untrue, it's impossible for it to be true, for Khan to have done this.
Okay. Well, on that, if it is impossible and the case still continues with a second indictment just last week, Ryan, I have to ask you this. I know about protecting sources, but the Intercept has a remarkable history in being quite clear about its sources and methods. In the Intercept's story from August, where you actually published the cipher, you were very clear that this has come from a military source. Full stop. You guys got a lot of pushback. Pakistan is the land of conspiracy theories. You guys got a lot of pushback that it's Imran Khan, his sister, his aunt, his kids, his ex-wife who have given you the cipher. All untrue, because you said it yourself. It's a military source. You've been quiet this time with your sourcing. I must ask, of course, not to put your source at risk. Who is the source? What is the source?
Right.
This is an internal ISI doc.
I think part of the thinking here is that not even the most paranoid observer at this point would suggest that this document, which we're publishing as Imran Khan is in jail, came from Imran Khan. So in that sense, there wasn't the kind of public interest need in order to kind of be clear about that. I think it's pretty clear. We can say that a document produced by the ISI after he was out of office was not leaked by him. Maybe there will still be people who try to make that claim, but those people are beyond reason, so there's no point in really talking about it. In general, we're not going to give information out if we don't have to that could lead people toward identifying a source or sources of ours, and so we'll just have to leave it at that.
But it can be assumed that this was not Khan.
Yes. So I'm happy to categorically reaffirm that in this case as well.
Unless he's pulling a Lex Luthor.
He used artificial intelligence to
unless he's pulling a Lex Luthor from behind prison bars. Okay, Maz, I have to ask you this. Let's quickly move forward. What does this mean for the case? You've been watching the case as well. What does this mean for the case? The Pakistanis haven't responded to the Intercept's calls for comment. Who have you reached out to? Have you reached out to the military? Have you reached out to the prosecution? Have you reached out to the Foreign Office? And what does this mean for the case itself? Where do you see it going?
We did reach out to the Pakistani government before publication, and they didn't respond to our inquiries, which I think was expected to some degree, but we did encourage them to respond and comment on these stories because the silence about them obviously is notable to many Pakistani citizens. But, it's interesting in terms of this case, there's two aspects you can look at it. On a legal aspect, it seems like it's blown one of the major planks of the prosecution completely away in the most categorical manner you can do so, documentary evidence from the government's own side that the charges are untrue. So you should see this as something on the road to legally exonerating Khan, and certainly exonerating him of the charges very serious in political sense of compromising Pakistan's national security. The thing that's interesting and still remains to be seen is how fair this trial is, or how much of a genuine legal process he's going through at the moment, as opposed to a political process. Well, in a legal standpoint, while he should be exonerated, in a political standpoint, you can see that there are a lot of factors behind Khan's prosecution, which is impelling the government to go after him over this. Again, the suggestion, they haven't said it, but the suggestion he's mishandled the cipher and that cipher leaked out to the public, it's not established in any way legally. And even the allegation he mishandled it in office, it's not, the implications of that they've put forward in this case is simply not true. So you have to answer the question, if he's still being prosecuted on these charges, despite all this, despite all that's been shown at this point, what is actually behind this? It's clearly not something aimed at establishing the fact of the case, the fact what Khan did or did not do vis-a-vis Pakistan's national security. It seems more geared toward the elections, which are coming out in the coming year. And, polls still show that Khan would probably win those elections if he's allowed to contest them fairly. And the idea of prosecuting him on more and more charges, regardless of the basis, then, even in the wake of exonerating reports, it just sheds more light to the public, if nothing else, on how politicized this whole matter is. And whether one likes Imran Khan, does not like him, certainly he should be entitled to a fair trial. This trial at the moment is not open to the public in any sense. And the more that these charges are shown to be lacking in substance, the more the entire system sort of gets hollowed out a bit, and the integrity of the judicial system certainly is impugned as well too. So I'd like to see some sort of positive changes from reporting, or at least response, on a legal and political sense from the Pakistani government institutions. But to the extent we don't see that, I think that it'll cause a further bleeding away of public trust in the process against Khan and against the whole political system in Pakistan in general.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm looking forward to the Foreign Office's response. I think they have their weekly briefing coming up in a couple of days. Ryan, you're in DC. How does it smell out there when it comes to the army chief was in town? The Pakistani army chief was in town. He's still in town. He might be leaving soon. He's met people from the Pentagon. He's met people from the state. He's met Tony Blinken. He's met Austin. He's met people from the intelligence community. They probably know that this is, horseshit, if for lack of a better word, from the Pakistani prosecution system. What do you think they talked about? Would this come up in follow-up meetings? I mean, his trip is wrapping up, but how do you think this will play out between Washington and Islamabad, or Washington and Rawalpindi?
I mean, you're right. The NSA has the world's most powerful decryption, services and system in the world. Your sense that they probably were already aware of this, I think, is a reasonable speculation. His trip here to the United States barely registered, I think, in the consciousness either. But not the American public, like, forget about it. Like, they're not paying attention one lick. But even here in DC. It passed largely without notice, and I believe he's headed home. I believe he's headed home today. But I'll be at the State Department later today, and I think I'll ask what I can get because there hasn't been much reporting. I'll see what the State Department will say about how their meetings have gone, because as you've noted, they haven't actually said much about that or anything.
No, he wasn't even on the calendar. He wasn't even on the schedule with state. He did talk to the Pentagon. That went on the record, but not any meetings with the State Department. But guys, this is for both of you. Take it as you may. There has been pushback against the Intercept. Of course, it's been going on for a while since the publication came out. It's done some stellar work. But specifically against your recent reporting, the two of you have been, targeted for being pro-PTI, pro-Imran Khan. How do you guys respond to that as journalists? And how do you guys respond to a specific allegation that because the Intercept accepts contributions and donations and runs accordingly, that is what is fueling your reporting? Nothing wrong with accepting donations or contributions, but I really need you guys to go on the record so we can explain to a lot of Pakistani audience about what your position is here officially.
Sure. I'm one of the original employees of the Intercept. It's over a decade now. I've been working here, and I've heard every conspiracy theory you can imagine about the Intercept. We work for CIA, we work for Russia, we work for,
Iran, I think, at one point.
Iran at one point.
Nice.
And for the enemies of all these places as well too. And now, in light of our recent reporting, we're not just accused of being, a PTI front, an ISI front, a front for raw Indian intelligence. It's all kind of comical at this point. It's kind of baseless. Our only, motivation and our only compulsion is to take us where the reporting takes us in terms of, what the facts show, what can be established, and we report what we get. We report the factual information that we can verify and put out there. If it happens to be favorable to the supporters of Imran Khan, that's their business. It's the business of the Pakistani people and their political parties and discourse. We're not here to advocate for one position or another. And in light of our donors, it's true, we're a nonprofit. So we take donors of all subjects. And mostly our donors are actually Americans who are focused on American domestic issues. For the early years of the Intercept, it was funded by Pierre Omidyar and the Omidyar Foundation, which is someone connected to eBay and so forth. Then that funding was based on our domestic reporting about the Edward Snowden NSA documents, which was a big story in 2013 for many years onwards. So that's kind of the origins of the Intercept. It's not created. We don't have a focus necessarily in South Asia, even although this past year, because of circumstance, we've done a lot of South Asia, Pakistan, and India reporting, including leaks from India as well, too. So, it's something I understand that people have these questions and so forth, but really we're not motivated politically in any sense. And, I'm indifferent really to the what political configuration happens in Pakistan. And I think Ryan has the same perspective as well. We want to see democracy and fairness, reflected in U.S. foreign policy vis-a-vis Pakistan and other countries, of course. But it's not really our interest to see one person or the other in power in any given country. And our reporting, if it happens to be in the interest of one party in one country, that's not circumstance. It's a circumstance of our reporting. And perhaps the more truthfulness happens to be on one side, just given the facts. That's not really our place to judge. But we're reporting it. We're going to continue reporting it. Whatever information comes out, whoever it's favorable to in Pakistan or elsewhere. It's not the way we frame or look at our reporting when we started.
No, I appreciate that. And before I let you go, Ryan, real quickly, I know you've just written that book, The Squad, right behind you, about AOC and the American left. You cover democracy as a beat, perhaps primarily, and then you devolve into other areas like Pakistan. Connect it for our audiences, considering the state of democracy in these great United States, and considering the state of democracy as you're reporting it in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Are there any parallels you see in this new beat you've developed?
Well, what's going on in Pakistan really makes a lot of the complaints that you hear from people about the United States kind of crumbling democracy pale in comparison. I try to tell like American viewers that Donald Trump's name could not be mentioned in the news, or that entire events were just forbidden from being covered. It's a difference, not just in degree, but almost in kind, because it's so stark. From my own perspective, this by more information than anybody really needs. I tend to do more foreign policy coverage when we have divided government in Washington. Right now, we have Republicans who control the House of Representatives. And we have Democrats in the Senate and in the White House, which means my normal beat of covering congressional action is boring and useless, because nothing's going to happen. Just manufactured crises, government shutdowns, debt ceiling crises, fake negotiations that are just going to fall apart at the last minute. I covered enough of those when I was younger to not want to waste my time with them anymore. When one party controls Washington, things are going to happen. And that's interesting. And then I kind of reinvest my time there. But when there's divided government, I'm looking around the world for interesting stories.
And you're both enjoying your new Pakistan beat, gentlemen, because you seem to be owning it.
So far, if we keep getting information that Pakistanis are interested in reading, and Pakistani Americans here in the U.S. are interested in following, I'm enjoying it.
Ryan, Graham, Murtaza Hassan, thanks for joining us, guys. Good reporting. Excellent reporting. We'll stay in touch.